Today, I want to talk about the establishment of an all-star game that is put in place for HBCU players to try to get to the NFL and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about an announcement that I'm actually very excited about and why it is important. So let's get to the lead, and this is in USA Today. Mike Jones had the story. The Black College Football Hall of Fame announced Thursday that it has established the HBCU Legacy Bowl, a postseason game for draft-eligible HBCU players. The NFL is partnering with the organization to produce the event. The game will take place on the Saturday after Super Bowl 56, that's next year, at Tulane University's Yulman Stadium and will be broadcast live on NFL Network. Huge deal. One, your boy might need to get down in New Orleans next year around about February. And two, there has already been some conversation about why this needs to occur. So let me walk this out for you. Of the 107 historically black colleges and universities in this country, only 21 of them field Division I football programs. Most of those are in the SWAC, Southwestern Athletic Conference, or the MEAC, right? And you know a lot of these programs by name. Grambling, Prairie View A&M, Jackson State is the one that everybody is really paying attention to right now. FAMU, and on it goes. Southern, right? We can keep going here. But the reason that this is important is because it is putting an emphasis on draft-eligible players at HBCUs. Why? As opposed to, say, black players across the country. This is quite simple. The HBCU player is underrepresented in the NFL, right? I believe there were only 29 players from HBCUs on NFL rosters last year. Shout out Quentin Bell coming out of Prairie View A&M, who's one that I know got a Super Bowl ring playing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and even got a tattoo that you can see on his Instagram acknowledging the feat. Tremendous. But that dude was a 7th round selection who ran real fast after converting to defensive end after having played like some wide receiver and some quarterback as a Panther, okay? So you're already being asked to do a bunch of things that you wouldn't ever do, and he's, I say defensive end, outside linebacker at Tampa Bay. It's also really important because I want to point out something that was put to me on Instagram by Nesta Silvera, who just chimed in the comments with what I thought was an interesting question. Nesta plays defensive tackle at the University of Miami. And he had said, why not all African-American players? Why just HBCU players? And I told him, because you're underrepresented at an HBCU. The amount of exposure you get by attending the University of Miami is the reason as to why we have to get HBCU players this exposure, okay? It's also really important to point out that most all-star games are already majority black, even as they are also majority predominantly white institutions that see their players fielded in the East-West Shrine Game, in the Senior Bowl, in the Honolulu Bowl, Hawaii Bowl. I forget what that one is called. I'm sorry about that. But there are a number of these all-star games, right? And some of them are specifically for a group of players that perhaps is underrepresented, maybe group of 5 players, for instance. But that's what this is about. This is about trying to shine a light in a place where there isn't a bright enough light. Now, it's become super racialized because people are stupid in that it's like, hey, they're just trying to make it about racism and make this about black folks. Well, one, yes, it is about black folks. Two, nobody said a white dude can't go to an HBCU. I made reference to that, and people wanted to try to destroy me for it because this idea was given that I did not state that white folks need to go to HBCUs to validate HBCUs, which is not true. The argument that I was making, and the one that I still think works here, is if you want to see the money change and you want to see Jackson State on par with Florida, with Alabama, with Ohio State, with Oklahoma, you're going to have to get more kids to go to school there who have ties to some real money because boosters still run college football. It's one of the best and worst things about college football. You can pay for the privilege of running the program. And if you have a Boone Pickens that can show up at Oklahoma State and quite literally drop enough money on that program to get them in the running for the national championship in 2011 after being one of the worst college football programs in America, you can understand why I am telling you that's what has to happen at HBCUs. But then you get into an argument about capitalism and how it works and how many rich black folks there are that have attended HBCUs versus not. And until that math changes, where 13% of the country is black and just 6% of the country is black and male, you're going to see people continue to say the kids have to be doing the voting because the kids make up about 50% of all of FBS players. Think about that. 6% of the country is black and male. About 50% of the FBS is black. We're overrepresented, just like we're overrepresented in the prison system. But all that to say, this is a good thing done by Doug Williams and Shaq Harris, who both play quarterback at Grambling and were trailblazers in their own right. Shaq Harris, the first guy to start in season opener at the Buffalo Bills as a black player at quarterback in the NFL. And then Doug Williams became Super Bowl MVP for the Washington when it was still called that other thing. And one of the great players to ever come out of an HBCU. They also needed to establish a Black College Football Hall of Fame because black folks were underrepresented in the College Football Hall of Fame. You've heard me on this show talk about how come Chuck Ealy doesn't get in. Chuck Ealy led a Toledo team that did not lose for 3 consecutive years. They were 35-0, and they never finished higher than number 7 in the AP polling. And Chuck Ealy went on to play in the CFL because he did not get drafted at all in the NFL because he had said he wanted to play quarterback. Hamilton Tiger Cats said, come play quarterback. He went up there and led them to the Grey Cup. He was that good. That is the reason why they needed to establish a Black College Football Hall of Fame. And since establishing it in 2009, they have about 90 players that they've been able to induct in it. And you look at it, and it is a bunch of hitters. And then you look at the heritage of the NFL and how it really did integrate in the 60s because the AFL made it something like fair. And then you saw the team that was at the front of integration in the AFL and later the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs, fielded a mostly black football team that won the Super Bowl in 1969. Honoring those things, honoring those traditions, knowing that Grambling, FAMU, Prairie View, A&M, Tennessee State were some absolute monsters through the 50s and 60s, to say nothing of what Southern was through the late 40s and early 50s. I mean, Southern run the first integrated college football bowl game between them and San Francisco State, 1948. Odie Posey was running over everybody. That team went undefeated and is one of the great teams of any era. But I wanted to do this and tell you that this is a good thing to watch for this, to see this on the NFL Network next year, and to know that it is going to be a thing that we're doing. All right. Yeah, that's it for me. Deuces.